My name is Nassime Saps.
Let me ask you a question. Has anything ever happened to you that you couldn't explain? That made you feel sort of foolish when you tried to tell somebody about it? Well, if it has, you have plenty of company, as you'll soon see.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Sherry Schreiner. A couple things I want to talk about today. You know, the Father's had me on two things lately. One is the pole flip, and one is those who have crept in unawares. And so, not exactly unawares. We've been on their butts for years. But most of the people have no idea, so clueless. Today it was 61 in Ohio. No, it's not heading into fall or winter. We're in the middle of summer, and so this is fun. And dark. Dark as heck and rainy and all that. You know, it's not going to go back to the way it was supposed to be or the way we expect it to be, folks. We're heading into an imminent pole flip. It's imminent. I don't know how much more to say that until you're in the middle of it. I would say about 4 to 6 weeks. That's not a thus saith the Lord. That's just me. 4 to 6 weeks. I've not seen the sunset lately to see how far over it's gone. I know we didn't have that much far over to go. But that could happen overnight. That could drag out for another 10 years. So I'm just watching it. It's just a sign. Because the sun's already over about 200 degrees northwest than it's supposed to be. We're supposed to set in the west. The sun is setting in the northwest. The sun is supposed to rise in the east. The sun is rising in the northeast. No cause for alarm, folks. And Nibiru, if you want to see where that's coming up, just watch the chemtrail planes at night, because they always start chemtrailing about 2 hours before sunset, maybe even 3. They start chemtrailing the area, Nibiru, this could be seen in. Usually it's in the southeast, southeast. And so when you start seeing the chemtrail planes going out, you know they're hiding something. Because they have this tech they spray, it's black tech I call it, I don't know what it's called. But it makes the sky black, so you can't see anything. Like you go outside, you're lucky to see the moon. All the stars are blackened out. The sky is just grayed out. They're doing it to hide the skies, because they don't want to see all these different starships coming in, all these different planets coming in. So typically they start their chemtrailing in the southeast and sometimes even in the southwest. If the planet we call EP, Enoch's planet, second sun, is going to be, is already up. The sun's brilliant at night, it's beautiful. They try to chemtrail that. And like I've always said, you know, Nibiru will come up out of the south, and so it seems to be right now a little bit over southeast, because that's where they're chemtrailing all the time. The moon is also over there, and I think what's happening is Nibiru is pulling the moon towards it. The moon's all out of whack. It's just all out of whack. It just does what it wants. You know, when the Father created the earth, he had the sun as the light for the day and the moon as light for the night. And the sun would rise in the east and set in the west. And the moon was opposite the sun, opposite the side of the sky. Does it resemble that now? moon will be rising in the east, or the sun will be rising in the northwest, and the moon will be over there in the southeast. It's crazy. It's crazy. Last minute preparations, folks. Another thing is I was sitting here watching, not really watching, it's usually just background noise, but I like to keep tabs of when commercials come on, and some of the sportscasters and stuff, because all these things, they're using fakes and synthetics. They're not even hiring real actors anymore for commercials. A lot of them are synthetics. I wonder if they get paid. I don't know. But I've been noticing for a long time, if you're a big Food Network fan like I am, I'm a foodie, and I love to watch the Food Network shows, competitions, and some of them just look really lizardy. One of the phenomena I've noticed lately is that the humans on TV, I won't call them humans, but one way to tell that they're not humans on TV, look at the upper lips. Because the upper lip is fading. It's fading. Every person you see on TV has a sliver for an upper lip. You know, most people just have a bottom lip and an upper lip in almost proportion to each other. Usually the bottom lip's somewhat fatter than the upper lip. Now look at it. You see all these people on TV with slivers for top lips. It's like, where is your lip? I've seen it on YouTube videos too. It's like people talking, politicians and stuff. It's like, where is your lip? Because people are always asking me, how do you tell them amongst us? And so this is one of the traits, folks. There's no upper lip. It's like a sliver. I used to always scream about Obama's purple lips. I couldn't stand it. It just was my pet peeve. It drove me up a wall to have to watch Obama on TV and his purple lips.
The Bible scored monster ratings, more than 13 million viewers, but also stirred controversy because you saw the man in the cloak here look familiar. A lot of people looking at that and saying, looks a lot like President Obama. By the way, this is Satan.
And what I was told was that he has no oxygen in his blood. So his lips weren't red because he didn't have oxygen in his blood, so they would turn purple. And they had like 12 clones of Obama. But even I've heard that clones have real blood in them, so what's the heck with this purple lip stuff, if even clones have blood? Even his clones don't have blood? I don't know. But that's what I was told, so I guess look for purple lips. No blood in their, no oxygen in their blood. Another thing is small ears. Ever notice a lot of men? You know, they have these tiny ears. No, it's like one of those hybrid traits. Because my guys, other men I know have these huge ears. And then you see these guys on TV and they have these tiny little boy ears. It's like, what the heck is that? That could be a hybrid bloodline trait going through the lines. Because like I said, there's only 1 in 4 with uncontaminated, pure human dominant bloodline. Humans among us. I mean, it's bad. It's bad. It's really bad. And I've been screaming for a long time about how TV is all fakes. And they've been replacing them all with clones and synthetics. Now it's like the tranny agenda, too. Someone was asking me the other day about Natalie Portman's husband, and I'm looking at the picture. I was like, that's a tranny. You know, when you start looking at all these trannies amongst us, they have a couple things in common. The big head, the long neck, the skinny shoulders, the high foreheads. And that's all from the chemicals they take as transgenders. They start pumping them with chemicals from the time they're born. That's why they're starting to have this thing, birth certificates, where you don't even name the sex of the baby. That's probably how all these Brazilian fighters got into the UFC. Because if you look at them, the men look like women and the women look like men. The transgenders are just taking over. I was watching softball, of all things, yesterday, and I'm looking at it was Japanese team. You would think you were looking at a man pitching from the back. No form of a woman's figure. Total man. And it even had a 5 o'clock shadow They were showing the teams after the shaking hands. Some of the Japanese players had 5 o'clock mustache shadows. Come on, folks. The transgenders are just taking over women's sports. It's not fair. It's just nauseating. It makes me sick. It makes me angry because they should just have their own league. Because now what? The real human women have to form their own real human leagues again, and you have to prove you're a real human woman born. I mean, they allowed this in the Olympics years ago. That was the testing ground. With the tennis, all the women back then were men. They snuck that in. I think it was the Russians who started it. And then the Americans, instead of throwing a fit, just came back with their own trannies. Yeah. And some of them are just groomed and pumped with chemicals from the time they're born. That's why they're so huge. It's why a woman that's 5'5" has a son that's 6'7", and the father's nowhere around, and he's just a midget anyway. That's how you have all these huge kids, because they're pumping them with chemicals, grooming them to be in sports, grooming them to be athletes. Another thing, and I even posted a video on my Facebook. Somebody caught it. NASA's Sophia telescope. They put up a jet plane at night with the Sophia telescope, and they have workers inside it. And they were showing the hands of one of the NASA engineers working at a computer, and it wasn't a human hand. It was actually the hand of a tall gray alien. But that's another thing I've been noticing is that if you look on TV, all of a sudden people's hands all of a sudden start becoming huge. It's like one of the hardest things to keep from morphing. Because a lot of these people that are just reptilian in disguise, they'll just start morphing. Adele did that in concert. She became an 8-foot reptilian, and Justin Bieber did it, and they just start morphing. They can't always control if they're shape-shifting or not. One of the hardest things for them to hide is their hands. The huge reptilian hands with the tiny wrists, the skinny wrists, and then the skinny, lanky arms. That's why a lot of them will wear long sleeve stuff, because when they shift and start to morph, their arms become very bony, very skinny, and their hands become very, very huge. And so their thumbs are, the one they showed on the video, the thumb was like 6 inches long, and they don't have a pinky, just 4 fingers. That's typical of a tall gray alien, the long 4 fingers. Some of them only have 3 on their hands. Some of them have that long thumb. None of them have the little pinkies like we do. But you'll notice that just with politicians. All of a sudden, Obama's hands would get monstrously huge. Michael Jackson's clone used to do that all the time. His hands would get monstrously huge. One of the things for them to hide is to keep their hands from morphing. And another thing, obviously, is the ears. Other things to look for is probably the foreheads, because even in the cheeks, you can also often see indentations in the cheeks that are kind of odd. When you look at this stuff on pictures, sometimes you can see demons in people's foreheads. You know, Obama, seeing a bunch of his pictures, it looked like he had millions of demons on his head, with all his scars, with all his... They just open up his brain and readjust the computer inside? Yeah. You know, we had so long with Obama, and I screamed the whole time, you guys should have learned a ton. So now with the Trump administration, none of this should surprise you. None of this, you should be pros by now, because it hasn't changed. That's why I won't even get involved with politics anymore. I just refuse to watch it. You know, it's like Trump and his Saturday Night Live clone, and his cloned kids, and the dull look, that MK Ultra dull look. You see that a lot on people. His oldest son, Trump Jr., and his dull look. Their eyes just get black, and they look soulless, and they just stare, and they're like, duh, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to think, somebody tell me what to do. You see that a lot, where they just freeze. It's like their minds just freeze. They just sit there and don't know what to say, don't know what to do. They're just looking at you like, duh.